Hi there, this is your good buddy Nick Prill of Mint English, and I'm back. And it's time for another session into the world of English grammar. By the way, before I proceed, I'd like to remind all of you that what we are doing here is we are finding ways to talk about English grammar the simplest way we can. And all of our sessions are geared towards helping you get to become better speakers and communicators in English. During our last session, we talked about adjectives. We talked about what an adjective is. We also talked about simple adjectives, and we talked about compound adjectives. For a short review, I'd like to remind you that an adjective is a describing word, a word that describes a noun, a word that describes a noun or a pronoun. All right? Adjectives would answer the questions, what kind of? What kind of car do you like? I like a red car. Red car. Red describes car, answers the question, what kind of? It is an adjective. Adjectives could also answer the question, how many? How many cars do you have? I have 2 cars. 2 describes cars. It is an adjective. And 3, which one? Which car do you like? I like the red car. So, red answers which one, then it is an adjective because it also describes the noun. Compound adjectives, as we talked about during our last session, are actually adjectives, more than one adjective, by the way, more than one adjective used as one in a sentence. Example, what was the example we had again? New, large, modern house. New describes house, it's an adjective. Large describes house, house is a noun, it's an adjective. And modern describes house, house is a noun, modern is an adjective. But nothing prevents us from using more than one adjective to describe one noun in a sentence. That's why we could say they have a new, large, modern house. New, large, modern there is actually a compound adjective. 2 or more adjectives joined or used to describe one single noun. That is the definition of compound adjectives. So we talked about simple adjectives, right? Simple adjectives are adjectives which are regular. They simply describe anything under the sun. When I say anything under the sun, anything that is common. A hard table, a red rose. We see roses everywhere. We see tables everywhere. A big house, a beautiful lady. These are common or regular adjectives. We have another kind of adjective we call proper. Proper adjectives are actually adjectives derived from proper nouns. By the way, proper adjectives are written down with capital letters. They start with capital letters. And they are derived. What do we mean when we say derived? They come from proper nouns. And what are proper nouns again? Proper nouns are particular or specific names of places, of people, and other things. Examples of proper adjectives would be Chinese. I'm not talking about the Chinese people. I'm just saying Chinese. A Chinese dish. I like to eat, or I would want to eat a Chinese dish for lunch. I'm not talking about the plate, I'm talking about the recipe. Chinese there describes dish. It is a proper adjective. We also have Spanish. The Spanish Armada. The Spanish fleet. The Spanish animals. Whatever. But you see, Spanish there is not referring to the people in Spain. Spanish in the sentences I gave you earlier actually help describe another noun. Armada, Spanish Armada. Spanish fleet. Spanish animals. Spanish houses. See? These are, or that is an example of a proper adjective. Alright? So we already know what common adjectives are. Now we also know what proper adjectives are. Now let's do a little advanced study in adjectives, or under the topic of adjectives. Adjectives, number one, I told you, describes nouns, right? Or describe nouns. Adjectives describe nouns. We have three forms of adjectives. First form is the simple form. Big, tall, short. You're just describing one thing, one person. The big ball. The tall basketball player. The short boy. See? So, when we are talking about the simple form of adjectives, normally we are only describing one thing, and it's the base form of the adjectives being used, just like big, tall, short. We have what we call the comparative degree of adjectives. That is when we compare two. We compare two nouns in a sentence. Let's use big. Alright? In our first sentence a while back we said big ball. Right? It is a big ball. But what if I had two balls right here? Two balls right on the table. And one is bigger. So, what do? We say, this ball is big. This ball is bigger. So this ball is bigger than this one. So when we compare two nouns, we use the comparative form of adjectives, the comparative degree. Normally, and I say normally because it's not done all the time, normally we add ER to the main adjective, just like big became bigger. We also could say tall becomes taller. John is tall. Mark is taller than John. Jeremy is short. Anna is shorter than Jeremy. You see, we're comparing two nouns. And we add ER. Normally, ladies and gentlemen, for longer adjectives, just like beautiful, handsome, and elegant, and more, we do not add ER. We do not say beautifuler. That is wrong. It's totally wrong. We say more beautiful. Anna is beautiful. Sarah is more beautiful as compared to Anna. We don't say Sarah is beautifuler. Wrong. It is totally wrong. So normally, when you meet longer adjectives, normally we add, or you would add, more instead of using ER. Alright? For short ones, it's easy. We simply add ER. Big, bigger. Fast, faster. Short, shorter. Slow, slower. But for the longer adjectives, normally we use more. More beautiful, more handsome, more elegant, and so forth. That is when we are comparing two. But what happens when we are comparing three or more nouns? We use what we call the superlative degree in or under the topic of adjectives. We use the superlative degree of adjectives. If in the comparative degree we added ER, in the superlative degree we add EST. So let's take, for example, we have three balls on the table. One is small, one is a little big, and the other one is large. But I would want us to use only one adjective. So I would say, this ball is small, this ball is bigger, but this ball is the biggest. See? This is a small ball. This is a smaller ball. This is the smallest ball. So when we compare three or more nouns, we use the superlative degree of adjectives. And how do we do that? We add est to the main adjective. Just like small, which became smaller in the comparative. But in the superlative, when we are comparing three or more, we add est, and what happened to it? Small became smallest. Tall, tallest. Short, shortest. What about adjectives which are longer? Just like the examples we had earlier. We add est? No. Normally we add the word most. The most beautiful, the most elegant, the most handsome, and so forth. All right? Well, I hope that you're not confused with that little advanced lesson on adjectives, and I also hope that I was able to help you today to become better communicators in English. This is your buddy, Nick Prill of Mint English, saying, have a nice day.